Think we are all set to go. I am just talking for a moment to make sure you're not hearing me double speak or anything like that. And welcome back, everyone. It's great to have you back. And we are going to get started with our first project. I think we have a couple of folks to let in the room. And I think Snohomish County is in the house.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. We'd like to welcome you to the Washington Wildlife and Recreation Program's Water Access Category Technical Review Meeting. I am Marguerite Austin with the Washington State Recreation and Conservation Office. Today, applicants from across the state are presenting project proposals to us and requesting feedback on their proposals to help them prepare for evaluation. The projects will be reviewed, evaluated, and ranked a little later this fall in anticipation of funding through our legislative process. Thank you for joining us today. We just have a half day's worth of projects to look at, and we are going to get started with our first project that's from, I believe, the Snohomish County area. So I am going to pull up the first project proposal, and then we'll be ready to go. I am going to turn remote control over to
Carol.
I'm looking. Oh, there you are, Carol. Thank you.
I have to talk maybe to pop up higher.
That is, I appreciate that.
No problem.
Okay. Now, why don't you double click, make sure you're logged on, and use your arrow keys to go back. Perfect. And I have my trusty little timer, and I think my team is ready, so you may begin.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Hi, I'm Carol Olfs with Snohomish County Parks, and I'm pleased to present our Kayak Point Park Day Use Area Improvements Phase 3 project. Kayak Point Park is located on Port Susan in Puget Sound, north of Everett and south of Stanwood. The 690-acre park includes 3,300 feet of shoreline. The day use area includes a playground, boat launch, fishing pier, picnic shelters, restrooms, and parking. Upland areas include campgrounds, yurts, ranger station, and nature trails. The surrounding area includes suburban neighborhoods, a disc golf course, rural residential, and Tulalip Tribes reservation lands. Established in 1972, the park is a major regional destination for waterfront recreation. The day use area has been renovated in phases since 2016, and each phase has been benefiting from RCO funding. This project continues those phased improvements to modernize the waterfront facilities, adapt to sea level rise, and ensure long-term public shoreline access. This grant for Phase 3 will complete the day use improvements by focusing on the northern portion of the park's water access features. The project goals are 1, to remove the existing seawall and build a natural backshore berm to improve resilience and enhance shoreline habitat, and 2, to relocate 10 existing picnic shelters away from the shoreline and connect them via accessible paths to water access points and existing parking. These regional maps show water access and boat launch locations in the area, and there's a large gap around Kayak Point. The closest site is more than 30 minutes away on Camano and Whidbey Islands, making Kayak Point a key regional water access site. This Department of Ecology map of available water access sites shows that Snohomish County has a total of 27 sites, while neighboring counties have 2 to 3 times as many. As a result of this limited inventory, parks like Kayak Point are especially critical to regional water access. Kayak Point is the most visited park in our county system. The site supports day use, camping, shelter rentals, events, and festivals. Approximately 300,000 visitors came to the park last year, with more than 60,000 estimated to have come in July. The renovation project is identified in Snohomish County's comprehensive plan, as well as the Park and Rec Visioning Plan and the Capital Improvement Program. While the park has gained popularity over its 50 years, the site is under threat from climate change impacts and aging infrastructure. The renovation project was identified as an opportunity to improve resilience and reduce future shoreline risk. Another primary way the need for this improvements was known is that the site serves as a long-standing educational and research site, supporting school programs, field studies, and coastal monitoring efforts. To describe the project scope, this photo shows the existing features looking north from the Phase 1 parking lot. To the left are the existing picnic shelters along the shoreline, a gravel parking area, and water trail campsites to the north. Now looking to the south, again, you can see the picnic shelters along the beach, the boat launch and fishing pier in the background, and the temporary paths through the grass that were built at the end of Phase 1. This plan shows the proposed relocation of the 10 picnic shelters. They would be moved back away from the shoreline to make space for a natural backshore berm, a soft shoreline protection measure designed to mimic the natural conditions of the beach substrate and enhance habitat for nearshore creatures. You can see in the left picture what a high tide and storm damage looks like for these shelters in their current location. This plan shows the proposed location of the paved pathways in blue and the gravel beach access points in red. The picture on the left is one of those access points constructed in Phase 1. Along the paved blue paths, there's also an accessible overlook designed for those that can't maneuver over the beach logs but still want to get close to the beach. The paved pathways will provide universal access to the shelters and the parking lot while connecting the northern amenities with the rest of the park. The site is well suited for the intended recreational uses, which keep the picnic shelters that the public loves, but relocates them to allow for shoreline habitat and sea level rise protection, as well as space them out in a way that allows for paved pathway connections between each amenity. As we review the project design, I'll reiterate our two project goals shown here. The first goal is to soften the shoreline as shown in this plan with the environmental improvements highlighted with orange circles. The project will remove existing seawall along the northern portion of the park. During Phase 1 construction, we removed a small portion of the wall when we installed the boat launch, and which that provided a very good idea of the cost and restoration assumptions that we could use for Phase 3. Removing this long portion of seawall will provide opportunity for the beach sediments to move naturally along the shoreline instead of being inhibited by hard armoring. The shoreline berm shown on the right in a Phase 1 portion of the site provides robust plantings and shade trees that will grow over time. In the picture to the left, the current condition is mown grass and a steep grade between the new parking lot and the beach. Here's another image of a high tide on a stormy day, which inundated the park with seawater. This project removes paving from along the shoreline and builds a soft backshore berm, raising and moving back the recreation amenities so they are not impacted by nor exacerbating future storm surge impacts. The cross sections show how the berm's 3 to 5 feet of added elevation softens the shoreline and provides a better balance between recreation and environmental protection. The berm will be planted and protected from pedestrians as shown in this image from a Phase 1 area. The second project goal is to create accessible and appropriate recreation opportunities. The plan shows the 10 relocated picnic shelters, new fire pits, walking paths, and the overlook. Here's another image of those existing picnic shelters and just how close to the active beach they are. The design will reuse existing metal roofs and posts and put them on new foundations. The proposed pathways will connect the existing parking lot and park amenities. And while I don't yet have a great photo of what the viewpoint is going to look like, the Phase 2 construction project is currently using these detailed plans to install a southern copy of the one proposed in Phase 3. And lastly, here's another image of the designated water access points. The Phase 3 project has 3 of these paths proposed. These designated areas provide opportunities to get down to the beach while protecting those new shoreline plantings until they are established. The project budget was informed by the 2 previous phases of construction, the bid tabs and schedules of values. The previous projects have allowed us to ensure that we have realistic expectations for what would be needed to construct the northern and final portion of this project. The primary costs are the grading and site fill, the shoreline berm, the picnic shelter reconstruction, and the pedestrian paving. Because the project is fully designed and construction ready, we believe it could be constructed in the winter of 2027 and be open the following summer season. The project's public outreach process began in 2015 and continued through 2019 with ongoing stakeholder engagement. Because the project has been partially constructed, we benefited from ongoing community involvement whenever local newspapers write up an article or our partners post about the project to their networks. In particular, I have engaged with classroom teachers and permitting review agencies and planning groups who focus on shoreline restoration to meet on site and talk about this project as a precedent for soft shoreline armoring and coastal restoration. Public meetings early on in the process identified priorities that have been incorporated into the design and reiterated throughout the phased process. Coordination with regulatory agencies has spanned over a decade and includes tribes, state, federal, and local governments. As a regional destination, the park serves users from across Snohomish County and beyond. In particular, the engagement focused on marine restoration organizations, and we've worked in partnership with dozens of neighbors and local community groups. As I mentioned, those early public meetings and design workshops set the stage for community priorities that have carried this project through multiple phases of implementation. This idea map shows many phase 3 scope items that were highlighted during early outreach, including picnicking, social gathering, walking, habitat, storm damage, and addressing the bulkhead. I'll quickly show how the design iterations looked back to the community vision as a guide when creating accessible, diverse waterfront recreation and still contributing to Puget Sound ecosystem health. So this image is the existing conditions in 2015 with our phase 3 project area outlined. In 2016, the parking shifted. In 2018, the soft shore berm relocated the shelters. In 2019, refinement avoided impacts along the shoreline. And then the shelters moved around a bit more so they weren't all jammed together and located the backshore paths and beach access points. And this 2020 rendering is pretty much what the construction drawings look like. The project maintained community preferences while negotiating complex permitting and regulatory requirements. I also want to mention that the community further influenced the project through participation in our Parks and Rec Visioning Plan, where they reconfirmed their highest values for water access, conservation and environmental enhancements, and leisure activities. In the context of partnerships with a long-standing project like this one, we're honored to continue to partner with our stakeholders and agencies while we complete the vision for this renovation. And we look forward to completing what we set out to achieve. We promised the community and our partners that the day use area would be completely renovated, and this important phase 3 project would allow us to complete that vision. As for sustainability, the environmental benefits of the project include creating shoreline planting restoration areas, providing stormwater treatment, and designing for climate resiliency. The social benefits of the project are shown through the park's ability to provide equitable access to high-demand waterfront recreation and supports access for future generations. The economic benefits include promoting local tourism and efficient long-term operations within an existing staffed park. Kayak Point provides many compatible types of water access opportunities for a wide variety of recreational uses, including boating, paddleboarding, camping, hiking, playing, kayaking, resting, relaxing, and enjoying a solo picnic or a large family reunion. While we don't have donations or private grants for this project, there are many efficiencies built into the design and sequencing of the construction phases. When weighing the costs and benefits of the project, our community strongly believes that the refreshed day use area with its environmental enhancements and accessible amenities are worth the costs. And that concludes this presentation. I look forward to hearing your comments.
Thank you very much. You had another 35 seconds. Did you do your Aaliyah presentation already?
Not yet. It's this afternoon.
Oh, got it.
There'll be lots of time for that one.
You'll have, yeah, lots of time. Questions or comments from team members? Rich, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thanks. That was a fantastic presentation. Really, really well done. My only comment would be It does feel like a bit of a fire hose of information. You have a lot of great things about this project, and my recommendation would be to try to really make the most important things pop out, and maybe don't, there's just so much. It's really hard to take it all in, and trying to make those important features stand would be what I would suggest. Thanks. Great job.
Thank you.
Garrett.
Yeah, and I Carol, echo Rich's sentiment. It's a ton of information. It's great. It's a beautiful spot. You touch on removal of seawall, bulkhead, and and I know you talk about all the decades of agency work in there. Is there anything you want to touch on regarding the impacts like sediment transport or anything like that to making sure that the asset's preserved? Because, there's a history there that some folks may want to hear of, like, you take out hardened shoreline, what happens? And it's obviously an asset you're working hard to preserve. And that is probably the biggest asset, right? So if there's anything there to touch on, that might be helpful for folks to hear that, hey, we modeled this or whatever, and here you go. But awesome presentation. Thanks.
Great. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Go ahead, Sharon.
Oh, I want to say, great job. I mean, yeah, it was a lot of information, but I felt like I could follow it from beginning to end in what your plan was, what you've been working on, all the benefits, challenges, and those, continue to come even after your project's done. But overall, good job, and thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Carrie. And don't forget to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I was looking for it. Good job. That was great. I'm going to just echo what Rich said. It was just a lot of information. I would say I wrote down on slide 22 just to stay on it longer if you could, because it was really important to have that information and to even have the picture of, what you're going to restore, and you went by it really quick. And I was like, wait, don't move it. But it was good. It was really good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Carol, having seen the other phases, it was pretty exciting to see the changes that have happened over these last few years. We don't oftentimes get to see how the progress is being made, and really great having some images from those first phases so you get a better idea of what it's going to look like when it's finished. So very nice job. Thank you so much.
Thank
If
you.
there are no other questions or comments, Rachel, did you have anything? Grant managers.
Nope. Great job, Carol.
Grant managers are always very quiet, but I know she'll have a chance to talk to you about it a little bit more. Well, thank you so very much. We look forward to seeing you back here in August.
Oh, yeah, I look forward to that too. And also, I think I'm the next presentation as well, so I'll just stay right here.
You have two today? All right.
Busy morning at my house.
It is. Oh, yeah, that's right, Martha Lake. And I am going to give you control again. Hang on just 1 second. I'm gonna let me just make one. There's a little change I need to make here on my list. Thank you, Carol. Now I'm going to put it on there. Why don't you just double check and make sure you've got control? Awesome. All right, I'm going to stop and reset my clock. So when you're ready, you may begin.
Hey. All right. Again, I'm Carol Olfs with Snohomish County Parks, and I am now pleased to present our Martha Lake Park Improvements Project. Martha Lake Park is located in southwest Snohomish County in an urban unincorporated area between the cities of Linwood, Everett, and Mill Creek. The park is in a rapidly growing area within the county's urban core sub-area and 2 city urban growth areas. Acquired in 1992, the 6-acre park includes swimming, fishing, a playground, and besides the adjacent state-owned boat launch, it offers the only public access to Martha Lake. The park is bounded by a major road to the south, the lake to the north, and neighborhood streets on the east and west. This grant focuses on the park's central water access area. The project goals are to renovate the swim beach, replace decking and railings on the swim pier, create a new looped pedestrian connection, remove aging facilities, and replace them with safer, more flexible gathering spaces. In an inventory of 78 parks within 5 miles of Martha Lake, only 6 provide water access. Martha Lake Park is one of only 2 with a designated swimming beach. Within 2 miles, 5 parks exist, but none provide water access, and there are only 3 play areas in this area to serve approximately 60,000 residents. The park offers a popular swimming beach, play area, fishing docks, picnic shelters, open lawn, shoreline habitat, mature trees, restrooms, and parking. Currently, the park receives approximately 245,000 annual visitors, and summer use peaks at more than 50,000 visitors in July alone. With sidewalks and public transit access, the park serves as a little urban oasis from the surrounding commercial development and busy roads. Anticipated use of the park is expected to grow significantly as the site is within a half-mile of a future Everett Link light rail station. Light rail planning identifies those station areas as priorities for open space, recreation, and transportation access. A quick look at these transit maps shows projects to support the future pedestrian network, public transit walkability, and public transit service, which will all connect directly to the park. This map highlights the limited tree canopy near the future light rail station, shown in the white areas. As the impact of climate change is felt with our increasingly hot summers, this site's urban access to shade, waterfront recreation, and swimming are increasingly important for this community. All this to say, we are anticipating far more use of this park in the future, and improvements to the site will go a long way towards making it ready for the neighborhood's continually densifying urban development. Now I'll discuss how this project was identified and prioritized. In 2024, we began public outreach to understand the community's top priorities for improving this park. We summarized the existing conditions, sought input, and developed a preferred concept plan, which could be implemented in phases. The process identified that there is a need to replace almost all of the park's aging facilities. The project is identified in Snohomish County's comprehensive plan, the Parks and Rec Visioning Plan, and the county's capital improvement program. To orient us, I'll locate the existing features in the project area. So here's an image of the existing swim beach, including a timber retaining wall and the swim pier beyond. This image shows that aging swim pier, including patched decking. And the pier does continue to function well in its current location, and community feedback strongly supported keeping it and renovating it. A former playground in this area was recently removed for safety reasons, leaving a retaining wall, a dead-end sidewalk, and an underused space that's hidden from visibility, which contributes to undesirable activity. There are some amenities near the swim beach, including a bike rack, picnic table, and outdoor shower. And here you can also see that timber retaining wall is beginning to fail. The ADA swim entry would benefit from some upgrades, including replacement of the handrail. East of the swim dock is the remote section of pier that was intended as a hand carry boat launch when it was developed in the 90s. Limited visibility from the shoreline vegetation has made this area difficult to monitor and a frequent location for vandalism. The project proposes to remove this section of the dock and restore the shoreline beneath its footprint, creating an environmental benefit while removing an undesirable gathering area. The project also proposes to expand the swim beach area further into the park and include a curved concrete seat wall similar to this example from another park. The old playground and underused picnic shelter would be removed. The shelter could be relocated to the other side of the park by the playground, and this area would become gently sloping lawn, which was the type of flexible space that was most beloved by park users here. The project would add paved pathways for connected circulation, formalizing the user-created trails that already show where people prefer to move through the park. And lastly, that swim dock would be updated with safer, lower maintenance, and habitat-enhancing graded decking and railings. The site is well suited for the proposed improvements. Existing physical conditions align with the project goals, allowing recreation upgrades while improving habitat. Park already balances designated water access points with preservation of natural shoreline areas, and this project further strengthens that balance. As the first phase of a longer-term effort, these improvements set the stage for continued recreation enhancements while protecting shoreline and wetland areas. So, just like the other project, as we review the project design, I'll revisit our 4 project goals shown here. The renovated swim beach will include a larger entry area with a curved retaining wall with seating. We'll also improve the ADA ramp and create better universal access with connected paved pathways. In the preferred concept plan, the retaining wall shifts further into the park and the pathways connect to the broader park circulation system. The swim pier renovation includes durable, sustainable, slip-resistant surfacing and replacement of aging railings. The pier updates will establish design standards for future water access improvements planned in later phases. In the preferred concept plan, community input strongly supported retaining and renovating the swim dock in its current location. The plan also identified interest in future fishing pier connections and a hand carry boat launch to the east. So while those improvements are not included in this project, the site analysis and design decisions completed now will support more efficient future improvements. The third project goal is to create looped paved pedestrian paths, and this image shows informal user trails across the lawn, indicating where people naturally want to travel. In the preferred plan, the looped path connects to a future accessible entryway, but in the interim, it will connect to the existing multi-use path, creating a continuous circuit for walking and rolling through the park. The fourth goal removes aging facilities associated with vandalism and safety concerns. These areas would be replaced with habitat restoration and flexible lawn space that supports appropriate recreation and expands opportunities valued by the community. The project budget reflects a strategic first phase for the park's improvements. The cost estimate was developed using recent bid data from similarly complex shoreline projects. To allow our modest budget to maximize its impact, the project scope would focus on the central amenities and avoid environmental impacts. The timeline optimistically identifies 2027 as a construction target. And based on our experience with other waterfront parks, we are confident that the focused scope could be completed within the 3-year grant period, even with potential delays. Project engagement methods included multiple rounds of outreach to the community as part of the concept plan process, with efforts to meet people where they were. We mailed over 1,900 postcards to addresses within a half-mile of the park, posted flyers, and held open houses and conducted online surveys. More than 200 people provided input, primarily regular park users from the 3 closest zip codes. As a community park, Martha Lake is intended to serve nearby residents, and nearly all engagement came from within that service area. This aerial image shows that the surrounding urban fabric, particularly to the south and west. These nearby neighborhoods are within walking distance of the park, and they include census blocks that have high green space need, elevated social vulnerability, and poorer health outcomes. I also want to mention that Snohomish County has ongoing collaboration with Coast Salish tribes. Prioritizing improvements at an already urbanized site like Martha Lake aligns with tribal preferences to reduce recreation expansion into natural areas. Community engagement highlighted several priorities which influenced the project design. Safety emerged as the top concern, and this project addresses it by creating programmed spaces that encourage appropriate recreation. Water access and connection to the lake were identified as the park's strongest community values. Users emphasized the importance of maintaining the park's character as a shady open space that provides refuge in an urban area. And overall, the public supported improving the existing park and strengthening the amenities already loved by the community. We are collaborating with multiple jurisdictions throughout this renovation process, but the key partnerships collaboration areas include light rail development planning and lake health environmental improvements. Because Martha Lake Park lies within both the Mill Creek and Linwood urban growth areas, We coordinate closely with both partner cities regarding long-term benefits and future incorporation possibilities. Sustainability is reflected in the project's design, construction, and long-term operation strategy. For ecological considerations, the project is located on sensitive waterfront site with shoreline and wetland buffers. From the beginning of conceptual design, we have focused on avoiding impacts and improving habitat where possible. The project supports social sustainability by providing access to recreation and outdoor experiences that strengthen health, community connection, and environmental appreciation. The project encourages access via a mix of multimodal and active transportation choices, improving access to waterfront amenities for people traveling both near and far. Those improved facilities can transform this park from a place that some people avoid right now into a community destination. Increased visitation can also support nearby businesses through everyday spending at restaurants, grocery stores, and community events. Martha Lake Park supports a broad range of compatible water access recreation opportunities, including swimming, boating, floating, resting, viewing, walking, picnicking, and playing. And while this project does not have donations or private grants at this time, the scope includes many cost efficiencies that will reduce government costs. We're renovating an existing park. We're expanding a facility that would allow for reduced staff time and operational complexity by over developing a separate site. And our volunteer program may also support shoreline restoration, invasive species removal, and urban forest planting. So in closing, thank you for considering this project to improve water access amenities in the heart of a community with significant recreation needs. This investment will create a safer, more welcoming place that supports joy, connection, rest, and recreation for years to come.
Thank you very much. We'll start our questions with Janet.
Oh, hi. You mentioned,
We can hear you.
Oh, you can, great.
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned right at the end something about people avoiding going to the park. Why is that?
It's because of the lack of visibility and those like unused spaces like the old playground, and there's not very good like visibility from the road. So there's a lot of undesirable kind of activity and people are spooked sometimes.
Okay, so there's like gangs of kids or something.
Yeah. Maybe I can touch more on that earlier on.
It would be good. Yeah, and to say what you can do about it. Yeah. It was a great presentation, by the way. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Next up is Gina.
Hi, yeah, another really good presentation. And appears this is again a phased kind of proposal, because the main question I had was if you're removing that boat launch facility, where will that be replaced and how will that be replaced? And then my second question was, I thought I heard you talk about installing a seawall. So would that be a hardened kind of, and maybe I didn't hear that correctly, but I was curious, given your previous presentation where you're taking out a seawall, why the difference? And I don't have to have answers right now, just those would be helpful with clarification.
Thank you.
And Matt is next.
Morning, Carol. Great job presenting two times in a row. I know that's not easy. Shifting your mind over. So if reading between the lines here, it seems like people are a little bit scared to go to this park.
There's certain areas in particular, like on the image you can see here, there's like that old footprint of the playground, which would be removed. Yep, over there. Then you can also see, because of the shadows, there's quite a bit of grade change, which I think I could explain better, but you can see the road up there. There's a big wall that between the and the site kind of drops down over there. So right now, that end of the central portion where the swimming area is and that old playground doesn't have good pathways, doesn't have a lot of people that can see it from the outside. The parking lot area is more to the left of this image. So that's why, yeah, people are uncomfortable going there, especially like dusk and stuff like that. And there is gang violence documented and whatnot.
Okay. Do you have any idea what the lift would be as far as usership by making these changes? Did I miss that or?
That's a good question. I mean, the park is already pretty popular in the summer sunny days, but it's kind of like, how do we activate it year round, or, off weather days, bringing people in? We think that the pathways are a good option. So I think I could explain that better.
I think for me, if there was a way to quantify, but obviously it's a guess, but here's the range of usership we think we could see change based on doing these things. So we're really impacting more people. I think my mind would want to see something like that.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Other questions or comments, Rich?
Yeah, thanks again. Fantastic job. You're clearly very skilled at this. You don't miss anything. But there's a few things, I guess, that you mentioned the graded dock improving habitat, and I think it might be worth just a few more words on that, like how that improves habitat. I assume that's a light penetration thing. Slide 32 was a real quick one. Again, it kind of had that comment in the last one. That was a slide that I was like kind of excited to. It went so fast. I think what it was kind of the conceptual design, and I just wanted to soak it in a little bit. And a little bit, again, kind of wordiness in the slides that maybe, you got such great stuff to sell this project. If you could just boil down just a little bit. Excellent job.
Thank you.
And Carol, I do think that just trying to walk people through what's here and where things are would be helpful.
Yeah.
And I think I have the same question that Gina was raising about if you're taking out that one access for the car top boats, where will those people be able to access the site? And I know that you have multiple phases, but that's probably a good one to make sure you highlight, especially when you're talking to those of us in the water access category. So,
yeah.
Anything else, team members? So, Carol, I'm going to ask you a question. That's just my curiosity. In the previous project, you talked about doing a series of shelters, and they're about 300 square feet. How many tables can you get in that size shelter?
I could go back and look at those pictures, but I feel like there's two pretty large picnic tables.
Okay.
I think three. Yeah.
And then do you
squeeze them in, but I think we typically have two large ones in there that kind of stretch out.
And do you typically do grills at those?
The current ones do have a grill on the outside, and we have kind of been like polling people to see if they really want the grills or not. Depending on, I think we have grills available to reinstall when we relocate them, so we'll probably will. But one of the things we're adding is like electrical outlets, because a lot of people bring their own thing and just plug it in. So that's one of the features that we're adding to the new relocated shelters.
Great. Thank you very much.
Oh, Sharon has one.
Sharon, go ahead.
One more question for you. Is the park lit? Does it have light?
Martha Lake. I think in the parking lot area, because it is a very urbanized area and they do have issues with crime. So I would say I could check on that, but that's something I could include. I think in the parking lot area, which isn't really in this centralized waterfront area, but I feel like maybe this area is pretty dark.
Not that, I mean, there have been studies, not that lights curtail crime or undesirable activities, but it might be more welcoming for other people and other users, particularly up there. The winter darkness is longer. And so how could it be utilized in the evening for people to walk about? And if lights, or at least, lights that protect the night sky, might be part of a future plan, but just a thought.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right.
We look forward to seeing you in August.
That sounds good. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks. All right, we get to stay on this side, but move a little bit south into King County. And this one, Betsy, are you there? Are you the presenter this time?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Marguerite. I'm going to be sharing the presentation with my colleague Ryan, who's here,
Okay.
I believe, and Ryan's actually going to be controlling the slides, but I'll be leading us off.
All right. Don't you love being able to switch parts for a change?
It's nice to be on both sides. I appreciate it.
Okay. Ryan, there you are. Okay, so Ryan, I have attempted to provide you with controls, so why don't you double click first? And then use your arrow keys to go back. That usually works better. Awesome.
Okay.
I
think we are working.
I think you
Thank you.
are. I'm
Super.
going to reset the clock, so you may begin.
Well, good morning, everyone. We're excited to be here today to share our project with you all, the Lake Sammamish Acquisition Edition. And as I noted, my name is Betsy Anderson. I'm with the City of Bellevue Parks and Community Services, and I'm joined today by my colleague Ryan Walker. Next slide. This slide illustrates Bellevue's location in the central Puget Sound area in East King County, and you can see with the red star that the project site is on the west side of Lake Sammamish. While Bellevue lies between two lakes, there's no public park on the city's shoreline with Lake Sammamish. Next slide. Here's a closer view illustrating how the city's phased property acquisition is laying the groundwork for Bellevue's first park on the lake, which will connect the existing Weona Park, which you can see in green on the left of the map, and the Lake to Lake Trail to the west to the shoreline. Parcel acquisition to meet this goal began more than 30 years ago and has accelerated recently. The project sites are outlined in solid red, and you can see that they're adjacent to properties that the city has already acquired, as well as two parcels that will be acquired with a real estate option agreement, and you can see those with the green hashing. The option agreement will allow the city to fully acquire those properties in the future when the owner is ready to sell. Next slide. This aerial view illustrates conditions on the ground, and the location of the subject properties are seen in red type. And you can also see that they're just south of a property acquired using RCO funding from the 2020 WWRP Water Access Program. Goals for this project include meeting the city's longtime vision to provide a park on Lake Sammamish and connect the Lake to Lake Trail, the protection of more than 500 feet of shoreline for the public, the ability to provide easier access into the site through the 1808 property, which offers much gentler topography. Criterion 1, need local priorities. So as you can see from this graphic, King County and the Bellevue-Seattle metro area have limited number of water access points for their population size. Next slide. And they're popular. Trails and beach parks are in the top tier of most frequently visited parks by Bellevue residents, according to a statistically valid survey that was conducted for the city's most recent Parks and Open Space System Plan. Next slide. The shoreline of Lake Sammamish in Bellevue is highly privatized, as you can see in the photo, with significantly altered shoreline conditions. This acquisition will allow the city to provide a brand new recreational aquatic opportunity for the whole community and not only a few private landowners. Despite its lakeside location, only 12% of shoreline in Bellevue is publicly owned, and all the city's public park sites are on Lake Washington. Comparing the dots on the map on the right, which represent launch and landing sites for non-motorized watercraft, you can see that Lake Sammamish has only 3 mapped sites, which is fewer even than Green Lake in Seattle. So this really represents a significant new recreational opportunity at a regional level. Next slide. The vision for a waterfront park and publicly owned shoreline on Lake Sammamish is a long-held goal for the city and its communities, which is articulated in multiple adopted plans, including the city's comprehensive plan, its Parks and Open Space System Plan, and many others. Next slide. The Lake to Lake Trail and Greenway, which you see here in red on the map, was established in the 1980s as a greenbelt connecting Lake Washington to Lake Sammamish. The approximately 10-mile trail and greenway protects valuable habitat and provides a network of trails for public access. The trail reaches the 93-acre Weona Park but does not extend past the park to the lake shore. So this acquisition also lays the groundwork for the decades-long awaited park connection at the trail's eastern terminus. Next slide. Criterion 2 project scope. The addition of 2 shoreline parcels to the city's future waterfront park will greatly expand recreational opportunities and accessible circulation throughout the site. This project makes possible an addition of almost 30% to the park footprint, increasing it to nearly 3.5 acres, including an additional 125 feet of shoreline. Expected recreational opportunities include swimming, beach access, launch of non-motorized watercraft, trails, wildlife viewing and interpretation, and play areas. And again, the first opportunities along Lake Sammamish and Bellevue to offer these. Next slide. To orient you to the site in more detail, this project is for acquisition of 2 lakefront properties that are adjacent to an RCO-funded property, all of which are downhill from West Lake Sammamish Parkway. And in the photo, you can see a potential public access route through that southern property. There are existing single-family homes on the 2 parcels that are less than 40 years old and would be demolished in order to provide interim public access before the park is fully constructed. Next slide. You can see from the map on the right, which illustrates steep slope areas in orange, that the 2 southern parcels would also allow improved accessibility to the site and a connection across the roadway to an upland parcel that the city's already acquired that will be suitable for additional parking. And you can see from the topography that it's actually quite hard to find those types of sites in this area. The photo illustrates the future crossing location. I'm going to go ahead and hand the floor over to Ryan for the following project criteria.
All right. Thank you, Betsy. Criteria 3 is immediacy of threat. And quite honestly, the city does not expect the opportunity to purchase contiguous parcels from willing sellers to arrive again in the next 40 to 50 years. Recently, there's been a significant turnover of existing houses and parcels along West Lake Sammamish as longtime property owners who built houses are downsizing or passing away. And the screenshot from Zillow illustrates some of the recent sales activity. Typically, if a property sells, the older home on the site is demolished and replaced with a much larger structure. And this actually happened next door to the south with a sale in April 2025. Some additional details on the urgency for each parcel. So property 1802 on the right was acquired in 2024 under an RCO waiver of retroactivity. The owner's health was declining, and if the city hadn't acquired the property, it would have been listed for sale. 1802 is one of 3 properties that uses the shared access driveway with the RCO funded property to the north. It was important for the city to acquire the property to gain control of the access for the future park. And then moving south to the 1808 property, that landowner is in a financial position where they need to sell now. So if this property isn't acquired, the city would still develop a waterfront park, but due to steep slope conditions and limited area, it would afford fewer opportunities for recreational access and accessible circulation. Criteria 4 is site suitability. As the photos and drawing illustrate, the site is conducive to a swimming beach and open unstructured lawn areas. The upper parcels provide optimal terrain for hiking trails and the chance to connect with a mature forested landscape. This project further enhances the site's suitability, allowing a more gradual entry into the site from the road, resulting in less ground and tree disturbance. It also provides increased shoreline restoration opportunities. And as you can see here, the image on the right is AI generated and illustrates the expected future public access condition compared to today. This is an example for example purposes only to get a sense of the park in its totality. In terms of access for non-motorized watercraft, you can see from this map that current opportunities are grouped at the 5 public parks at the north and south ends of Lake Sammamish. So recreational usage patterns for watercraft, which is on the right, strongly correlate and suggest that this site provides an important new recreational opportunity in the middle of the lake. Criteria 7 is project engagement methods. A statistically valid survey was conducted for the city's most recent Parks and Open Space System Plan, and it identified beach parks as one of the most desired new park facilities among respondents. So this survey reached nearly 470 residents in a random sample. Because the property acquisition is not yet complete, the city has not yet conducted community engagement specifically for this site. However, the project has been identified as a long-term goal in many of the plans that you see here, and future master planning will occur with the community. Criteria 8 is project engagement community. In addition to public feedback received through citywide planning efforts, the community has had the chance to express their support for waterfront park development through the city's Parks and Open Space Levy, which passed in 2022. And this levy included a focus area that is devoted to restoring and developing waterfront parks and protecting water quality in Bellevue's lakes and streams. And the ballot initiative passed with more than 55% of residents approving. Levy funds are supporting the city's contribution to acquisition funding, as well as future master planning for the park, which will offer the community a chance to identify the elements that they'd like to see. Criteria 9 is public engagement partnerships. The city's phased acquisition of property has allowed Parks and Community Services to identify several potential partners and begin to collaborate with some. These groups include Washington Water Trails Association, Save Lake Sammamish, Trout Unlimited, Lake Sammamish Kokanee Water Group, and the University of Washington School of Aquatic and Fishery Sciences. Several have submitted letters of support over the years, and we will be gathering updated letters before project evaluation. Criteria number 12 is cost efficiencies. Partnerships and support are clearly demonstrated by the city's past success in raising grant funding to support these acquisitions, which is summarized here, including significant funding contributions from King County Conservation Futures. The city is also applying for an ALEA grant for this project as part of the match. And the city has acquisition funding ready and is committed for the sponsor match. So finally, I'll leave you with this view, which is reserved for those who can afford $3 to $6 million houses on the lake with precious few access points. This could be the east end of the city's Lake to Lake Trail, however, allowing all residents the chance to enjoy this view. We invite you all to continue to be part of the effort. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ryan and Betsy. We're going to start our questions off with Janet.
Hi, thank you very, very much. It looks like a great project and you presented it very well. First of all, slide 8 and slide 14, Betsy, you said, as you can see, and I couldn't see at all. It was really little. I had absolutely no idea what you were talking about. So if you can do something about that, or at least show me with your cursor or draw a ring around it, something, that would be really helpful on both those slides. The other thing is, have you had any pushback from the local people who do live in $4 million houses, whether they want locals being so close to them? Has there been any pushback yet? Because I know you've done citywide surveys, but not local.
That's a great question. I can answer part of it, and Ryan can fill in anything that I miss. But we've received curiosity and interest, from neighbors. I think the fact that we have been acquiring properties over 30 years in this area demonstrates some level of community interest in this, because they've all been through willing sellers who live nearby. But we do regularly receive communications from folks who live, up and down the roadway, asking kind of what the plan is in the long term.
Do you think they're getting ready to object? Or You
I
don't think?
don't, I'm not aware of that, Ryan. Ryan, I
Okay,
know
good.
we've had more direct contact with some of those
Yeah.
folks than I have, but
I don't get that sense. As
Great.
Betsy said, this has been a long-term project. There's a couple of recent owners who bought houses nearby up the road, and they've been in contact asking how they can access the property that we currently own. So
Okay.
I sense general support across
Great.
the board.
Good.
We'll move on to Maddie.
Hi, thank you. This looks like a great opportunity. I would just encourage you to maybe look at your graphics or have someone that's not familiar with the project look at the graphics. Kind of like Janet, there was a few times where I got lost. Particularly you mentioned like, oh, in the green hatched area, that green didn't show up at all. And it wasn't until a later slide where it was blown up that I barely saw it. And I think that detracts from, you're telling this great story and all of a sudden we're trying to, figure out what you're talking about. So I would just encourage to kind of look at those graphics again and maybe find a way, if there's a way to make it clear on what exactly you're purchasing, what has and has not been acquired. I think that part got a little fuzzy for me. And just, your last conversation with Janet, you have the story of acquiring all these properties. I think there's room for you to tell that a little more clearly visually. So, but overall, great job.
that's great feedback. Thank you.
And we'll move on to Matt.
I love the transition from Betsy to Ryan. When Ryan, you said, it's going to be another 40 or 50 years until we have the chance to acquire these properties. So don't lose that part of the presentation, and that transition I thought was powerful. Building on what Maddie said there. So if you acquire the one as I look down at to the right, if you only acquire that one, it sounds like it's going to be a walk-in park, basically. And is that right?
That's a great question. I'll briefly address it. I know we need to be tight on time and we can clarify it in the presentation. It can be a drive-in park, but we are interested in the southernmost property just because it will mean a lot less grading and disturbance of the slope and trees.
Yeah, I would, Ryan, you talked about it, but I would, if it were me, I would asterisk and bold how important it is to get that property on the left.
Yep.
And then that's just my opinion. And then also, once these are acquired, are we waiting, maybe you said this, but are we waiting another 30 years for this to come in? Or can I use this in like 3 or 4 years or something?
As far as access.
Well, yeah, when would it be built? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, we're looking at basically mid 2030s for final park development. So, but there could be elements before that.
Yeah, this does allow us to potentially open the site up much earlier through that site.
Yeah.
I'd say that.
Yeah.
So people aren't worried about waiting another 30.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good feedback. Yeah, the southern property really does open up opportunity on the site for different kinds of access. So thanks for that.
You bet.
I know.
So is the southern property the 1808 property? Okay. Something that you guys said, and I can't even put my finger on exactly about that, is it sounded potentially like this was a little more opportunistic than planned. And so maybe being really clear about, yes, it's an opportunity, but here's the big reasons why this is a super good place to invest in.
Okay.
And you maybe covered that well enough, so that would be my point. Thanks.
That's helpful. Thank you. Appreciate it.
On one of the properties that's adjacent, you have an option agreement.
Yes.
What's the option timeline?
That's a great question. The current owner of those two parcels is in her 90s, and so the option agreement is either she'll choose to leave or she may stay, and pass away. So it's a little, uncertain, in terms of the timing, although we, anticipate that in the next few years, that
it would be available. Thank you. I just remembered that was part of the challenge of trying to get everything all developed down there.
Yes.
So I'm very happy to see you folks bringing this forward because you really need it in
Yes.
order to get those roads. So yeah,
Yes.
good job. Thank you very much. Any other last comments or questions or recommendations for folks? So one thing that I noticed or I was looking for, and it's because I just don't know, and I'm going to go up to where you had your maps, see if I can top of this. So when you were doing these maps, whenever I'm looking at Lake Sammamish, I'm always trying to figure out where the state park is.
Mhm.
Is this the state park at what's at the southern and the northern ends?
Marymore is at the north, and we can label that, and then the state park is at the south.
And I think it would be good to label that
Okay.
to kind of give perspective. Also, it helps to kind of indicate how much use happens out at this lake. And this gives another option and other opportunities is what you're trying to do. So yeah, I would definitely, but I was looking at it and I was saying, okay, why don't I see the name of the state park? And when you go through it very quickly, yes, having it labeled. So those of us that are wondering, we see it, even though your script is moved on.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, that's great
Yep.
feedback as well.
Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you very much. And I know that you are going to take a break with the rest of us, and then you'll come back with your second project. So, team members, it is now officially time for a break. And I know this is going to be different because you'll actually get a full 15 minutes. It might be too long of a break. You can let me know when you get back. All right, thanks. We'll start up again at 10:15. Well, hello everyone and welcome back. We are ready to get started, I think, with our next project. And who am I giving the mouse to?
Hello again. Actually, Ernie Padaka has joined and he'll be moving the slides for us.
All right.
Yeah.
Ernie, I'm going to give you control. And I'm going to ask you to double click first to get control. And now see if you can move your slides forward. And then using your arrows backwards. What?
All right. It looks like I have control.
You have control
Hopefully it stays that way for the time being.
for at least 12 minutes.
Yes.
So I have my trusty little timer, and I think our team members are back, so you may begin.
Excellent. Great to be with you again and appreciate the break. So it's great to present this project on Phantom Lake Dock Accessibility Upgrade. Again, I'm Ryan Walker with the City of Bellevue, along with my colleague Ernie Padaka. Next slide, please. So this map displays the project location within King County on the east side of the City of Bellevue, and it is uphill from Lake Sammamish. Next slide. Phantom Lake itself is located within the Westlake Sammamish neighborhood, and the dock is located on the southern end of the Lake Hills Greenbelt Park, as you see marked with the red star. Next slide, please. So really, we're looking at to create a new experience at this location. The primary project goal is to install a floating dock to provide accessible non-motorized watercraft launch. The image shows the existing dock, which primarily functions as a viewing platform rather than a boat launch. And the adjacent path and landing area in the foreground will also be improved. Next slide, please. Criteria 1 is need local priorities. Next slide. And Bellevue is a city of 158,000 residents out of the 2.34 million King County residents. King County and the Bellevue-Seattle metro area have a limited number of water access points relative to the population size. And this is particularly true regarding small lakes, as well as Lake Sammamish. So the map on the left shows small lake access in the vicinity. And I should note that Phantom Lake is the only small lake with permitted access for non-motorized craft in Bellevue. The map on the right shows large lake access points, which are few away from Lake Washington. So small lakes are really important. They tend to have more docile water and not allow motorized boats. They can be places for kids to learn to kayak or canoe. And this is really a different experience than Lake Washington or even Lake Sammamish. Therefore, we want to make Phantom Lake as accessible and user-friendly as possible. Next slide. It's a commitment from the city of Bellevue to have facility options that provide recreation access to users of all ability levels. And this includes access to water. These ideas are articulated in multiple plans pictured on the screen, including the city's comprehensive plan, its parks and open space system plan, diversity advantage plan, and the choices plan focusing on people with disabilities. In a related point, some of the neighborhoods nearby, such as Lake Hills and Crossroads, have historically had higher rates of disability than the city average. Next slide. Looking closer at the parks and open space system plan, water access points and boat launches are very popular, as noted in our prior presentation. Trails and waterfront facilities rank in the top tier of most frequently visited park facilities by Bellevue residents, according to a statistically valid survey conducted for that plan. Next slide. And Phantom Lake is a popular destination at the crossroads of the Lake Hills Greenbelt Trails, which connect north to Larson Lake from the red star there, and the Lake to Lake Greenway and Trail, which runs east-west across the city, which is depicted on the left. It's really an important part of the system. Additionally, facilities within the Lake Hills Greenbelt were funded by RCO way back in 1971. These include restroom facilities at this Phantom Lake site. Next slide. Criteria 2, project scope. As mentioned, the project scope includes a new dock at the legal boat put-in location to ensure accessibility. You'll note from the image on the left, which was taken at a wet time of year, that this deck is much higher than typical water level by several feet. This makes it nearly impossible for boaters to legally access the lake, particularly people with mobility issues. So boaters either don't use the lake or they put in at illegal locations. And the image on the right shows the path and ramp to the dock, which is relatively narrow. Next slide. The early concept plan shows that the pathway and landing area will be improved to facilitate an accessible ramp to the new dock. And this improvement will ultimately provide non-motorized boating access and enhanced access for fishing and wildlife viewing. Next slide. Criteria 4 is site suitability. The Lake Hills Greenbelt is one of the most popular parks in our system. And as the heat maps here show, the Phantom Lake access is a busy spot. And next slide, please. In addition to suitability based on community interests, there are minimal challenges anticipated to install the floating dock because of limited grade change. The image on the right shows the area that will be available for this project, and we expect minor impacts to trees and natural resources. Next slide, please. Criteria 5 is project design fit. And the site maps show the context of the dock installation in relation to the surrounding park. Standard and ADA parking stalls are available about 500 feet west from the dock via an ADA accessible path. And the new floating dock will be designed for all abilities without expanding beyond the footprint of the existing dock. The decking will also allow light penetration. And the adjacent landing area will be widened slightly, and the ramp will contain rails and other safety measures as needed. Next slide. And the floating dock will allow the deck to be much closer to the water surface than the current deck, as shown on the left. And as shown on the concept plan to the right, the design navigates grade to install an accessible ramp to the lower deck by digging down slightly in that landing area. And the reason for this is the design is based on water fluctuation of approximately 2 feet. And that's verified by a gauge on the lake. You can see that data here. We will continue to assess water levels related to this design. Next slide is criteria 6, project design budget. And estimates are based upon typical costs for similar projects. Sorry, next slide, Ree. Cost efficiencies include using the same dock footprint, which should reduce permitting time, cost, and complications. So match is in hand, supported by city CIP funds. And as needed, we can use existing dollars to get A&E started. Next slide. Criteria 7 is project engagement methods. A statistically valid survey conducted for the city's most recent Parks and Open Space System Plan identified trails and waterfront facilities, including boat launches, as one of the most desired new park facilities. The survey reached nearly 470 Bellevue residents in a random sample. Next slide. Through citywide planning efforts, such as the Parks and Open Space System Plan and Diversity Advantage Plan shown on this slide, there are many methods used, from public meetings to surveys to focus groups to tabling at park sites. And these plans both emphasize accessibility based on that feedback. The current parks budget also allocates funds to improve accessibility. And this is really spurred by Parks Board recommendations to City Council based on community feedback from these plans. Next slide. Project engagement community. The community has had the chance to express their support for waterfront park development through the city's Parks and Open Space Levy, which passed in 2022 with more than 55% of residents approving. The levy includes focus areas devoted to restoring and developing waterfront parks and protecting water quality in Bellevue's lakes and streams. Next slide. And this specific project was requested from a couple of sources, including through direct communication from Phantom Lake boat launch users and through the Neighborhood Enhancement Program. NEP is a program that allows the community to suggest and vote on improvements in their neighborhood area. And this project was requested as part of that outreach, though the cost was ultimately too high for NEP funds. Next slide. Project engagement partnerships. Next slide. Boat launch users and the Phantom Lake community continue to request an accessible put-in and discuss with park rangers and other staff. So we anticipate receiving letters of support for this project from members of the community prior to evaluation. And the historical Lake Hills Greenbelt Park Management Plan shown here defines public use on the lake that still applies today. And that outreach process included the surrounding Phantom Lake landowners when it was created. Next slide. Criteria 10 is sustainability. Next slide. The floating dock is low impact design with deck grading that will allow light passage. And we anticipate using the same footprint as the existing dock without adding new piles. There's also an opportunity for interpretation and community education. And in addition, cultural holiday celebrations already happen at this site and they will be able to continue. And finally, it's a new facility and we anticipate using materials that will maximize its lifespan. Next slide. Criteria 11 is diversity of recreational uses. Next slide. The new dock will create a truly accessible lake access point for boating and fishing from boats. It will also allow picnicking and wildlife viewing from the dock and cultural celebrations around the site. Criteria 12 is cost efficiencies. And on the slide, you can see a summary of the project costs. And the city has city has funding ready and committed for the sponsor match. And cost efficiencies include mirroring the existing dock footprint to reduce permitting time and costs, and likely reuse of piles. And with your support for this project, we will be able to provide funding certainty and build this accessible launch site. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Janet, you want to start the questions or comments? And don't forget to unmute yourself. There you
Sorry
go.
about that. The project seems to be at a very early stage of design from the attachment that you have in the proposal. And I was a little bit worried about a 30-year-old outreach, you quoting 30-year-old plans with outreach. I think it would be really good to have a bit more assurance in your next presentation that this is really a well thought through project. That it just seems so early, and with, I don't know, there seems to be a few things lacking, like the community input. You know, when I see something from 1988, it sort of rings bells to me that there isn't anything more recent. And I'd like a little bit more information, a better map about that green belt. I mean, that sounded really important, and it was, you did have a heat map, but I'd really like to know how big that is, how this adds to it, and so forth. Anyway, that's my thing.
Thank you.
We'll go to Sharon and then Rich.
I was just looking at the cost of permitting. What type of permits do you need for this project?
I can kind of delve into that a little bit. So we'll need what's known as an HDR permit. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly what the an acronym stands for, but it's basically it's from the Fisheries and Wildlife, and it will allow, it looks at the impact on wildlife. It impacts water quality and any sort of impact on vegetation. The other one is a look is a review from the Army Corps of Engineers, which will look at whether it's a good idea to have a pier there. A dock there. We already have an existing dock. We're just making it accessible. So we don't foresee any sort of issues from them. The city will weigh in maybe with a clear and grade permit, since we are doing some minor dirt disturbance, but it shouldn't be a major ordeal for this particular project.
All right. Well, thanks. I was just curious because I was looking at the amount and I was like, wow, what kind of permits do you need? So thanks for filling in.
Yeah, it's a lot. Everybody has their hand in this.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
And we're going to have questions or comments from Rich and then Maddie.
Yeah, thanks. Good job. Just clarification, it's a HPA permit that WDFW would provide for that. And that's a great segue, because my question was, when I look at that's a protected little bay in there, my thought process is going, why not protect that further? Or would it be possible to move the floating dock actually over to the pier, minimize that footprint of impacts and have a protected area that could maybe have a viewing area? Well, I guess that's kind of how it operates now, I believe you said, but yeah, I don't know if that's feasible. Might be good reason not to do that, but that's something maybe you could speak a little bit more to.
We didn't really think in that particular direction in terms of putting a non-motorized dock adjacent to the existing dock. Our concern was minimizing adding more footprint, overwater footprint. So that was what was kind of driving us to put a floating dock where the existing non-motorized dock is. So it would have to be something from your guys' world that if we were to go in that direction, we would have to do some sort of mitigation. We'll take out the existing dock and somehow do a non-motorized dock off that major fishing dock, and something along that. So that we didn't really look at that in terms of, we're just looking at what's already there and not wanting to add anything more to the site.
Mm-hmm. And also, I didn't show pictures of that fishing pier. That may be something I would do. But that would require a bit more engineering, I think, given the height elevation of that. Also, the permitting is something we're thinking about. It'd be much easier to permit something on the existing footprint.
Anything else, Rich?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, Maddie.
My comments are building off the last two. I think it would help to see any other options that you have explored, or if you could explore a couple others, and here's why quickly, we're not pursuing that direction. And then you mentioned a couple times that you will have accelerated permitting or quicker permitting because you're staying in that footprint. I think it would be good to hear if you've had any conversations with these permitting agencies that have confirmed that. And if you don't get accelerated permitting, what does that do to your project? In theory, yes, it should be quicker because it's the same, but with so many hands in it, that's an assumption. I just think it would help for you to give us more information on.
Well, I think I need to clarify. It's not accelerating permitting. It's that we're pursuing. I don't believe there is a route to accelerate the permitting. What we're trying to avoid is extending the permitting time by adding more footprint to the overwater footprint. So I'm sorry if I kind of misled that we're accelerating permitting. We're just making it quicker by just using the existing footprint.
Okay.
So there's less studies that have to be involved in permitting something like this.
Okay. Yeah, we can clarify that point. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to Gina.
Many of the images of this site made it look like the vegetation is encroaching so much that it really actually isn't a very good non-motorized boat launch site. So that's something that could be clarified in this slide 18 here. Perhaps just by moving the text bubbles, you can actually get a better sense of, okay, I'm bringing my kayak down here. How do I even get out to the lake? Might be helpful because so many of the photographs kind of were at an angle that looked like, oh, it's just really all vegetated in. So where would I go?
Yeah.
Then the other thing that would be helpful to me is if this is an accessible site, how is it connected and about how far is it to where I would park or need to move my my equipment from? So it would be helpful to have maybe there it is, but that we went past that relatively quickly. So those are a couple things. Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree with you, Dinah. This is one thing that Ryan and Ernie that you definitely needed to pay attention to. We never really got a sense of what the park itself was. And when you shade everything in like this, we still don't really see it. So it would have been helpful to just give us a very brief, quick overview of what's there. And then where your new facilities or where your renovated facilities are going to be. But that stood out to me right off the bat that, hey, I don't even know what's in this park and where things are and the focus on this. And if you're trying to design for accessibility, where's the accessible parking? Where are the existing restrooms? Are those upgraded to meet current accessibility standards? How do you get down to this particular float? And then even just talking about the design, I was still sitting here trying to question, okay, so you come down this path, do you come this way? Do you come this way? I wasn't quite sure what this little area was. And then I didn't quite understand what this is compared to this. So I think you can help us. You may be a little bit further along with your design when you get back in August, but that would help to maybe clarify some of what it is that you're attempting to do. Other questions or
Sounds good.
comments
Thanks.
from team members? Well, thank you both very much. Hopefully we gave you some feedback that'll help you with the next go round. And we look forward to seeing you back here in August.
Very good. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And Rich, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself and I'm going to give you control of the mouse. So you want to double click. And then maybe use your arrows to go back. Excellent. And I have my little timer here. Gonna restart it. So you may begin.
Great, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rich Finger. I'm with the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, and I'll be presenting the Dryden Dam Recreation Site Improvements Development Proposal in the water access category. For the panel's convenience, the evaluation criteria is within the green footer on all the slides. This project occurs along the Wenatchee River between Leavenworth and Wenatchee in Chelan County, and it's very close to the junction of Highway 2 and Highway 97 on the north side of Blewett Pass. The Dryden Dam site is an 8.8 acre site at the confluence of Shaston Creek and all right, let me back up. There we go. The Dryden Dam site is an 8.8 acre site at the confluence of Shaston Creek and the Wenatchee River. The site was previously a gravel pit operated by Washington State Department of Transportation, but was acquired by WWRP in 2013. There's one small parcel owned and operated by Chelan PUD to manage the dam and the fish collection facility. The site provides Wenatchee River access to both sides of Dryden Dam, and a 2.8 acre unimproved gravel parking area serves the site. And for scale reference, that is larger than the Home Depot parking lot in Wenatchee. We have chronic user conflicts, a lack of basic sanitation, and no ADA accessible river access sites within a 14-mile stretch of the river. Our goal is to transform this into an efficient, safe, and welcoming site for all to enjoy. So we're installing paved parking, accessible trails, toilets, a shade structure, improved signage, and a formal portage route to bypass the dam's hydraulic hazards. And we will rehabilitate about 1/3 of the parking lot to native vegetation. The project will complement the $3.5 million Lower Peshastin Creek restoration work that was done by Cascade Fisheries and completed last year, turning this entire confluence into a model for equitable access and salmon recovery. Apologize, I'm struggling. With some computer lag. And now I'm trying to get my notes called different here. The 2017 plan, which was incorporated in the 26 to 2046 comprehensive plan, identified this site based on workshops and public comment as a high priority for a park within the river access and a whitewater play feature, and as a basic need for community safety, health benefits, and protection of community and natural resources. The 2017 plan also mentioned Wenatchee River Water Trail, a series of access points and day-use sites facilitating one-day trips on the river, which ranked as moderate in priority level. There are several I am totally off my game now. Okay, there are several WDFW access sites along the Wenatchee River, but this site is the only one large enough to support commercial rafting. The size and layout of the existing parking area is problematic for a variety of reasons. It's inefficient to maintain because of herbicide and grading needs. Its large size attracts nefarious activity, driving and creating safety concerns. It's difficult to post signage that all users can see. The leftover spoil piles from DOT's past operations are unsightly. And it's a free-for-all. And so that results in congestion of critical areas and access points for the users, as well as Chelan PUD's facility. The site lacks common comfort features. Currently, the only sanitation option is the porta potties that are provided seasonally commercial use agreements with rafting guides from the away from the riparian zone of the Wenatchee River and Peshastin for boaters putting in, taking out, passing through. And it's also a very popular lunchtime stop. Public access to the site provides safe portage opportunities around a dangerous low-head dam. Without this site, users would have to take their chances running river left, and that's a route that's highly unadvised and best left to experienced boaters. This next image shows the amazing work done by Cascade Fisheries on salmonid recovery. It's coming. Apologize. I am, oh, there it goes.
Hey, Rich, if you want to,
Okay.
I can move your slides for you. You can just say next.
That would be amazing. I would
Okay.
greatly appreciate that because
Okay.
I am.
And I
is
think
the
you
lag-
wanted to be on this one right here. Is that correct?
Slide 8, please.
Okay, there you go.
So this image shows the amazing work done by Cascade Fisheries for salmonid recovery. The stream channel was restored close to its original meander. Large woody debris was installed for fish habitat. The riparian area and disturbed areas were replanted with native vegetation. And the trail, you can see kind of the gray, is a trail that was built following along Shaston Creek. And next slide, please. So this slide shows photos of that trail. The buck and rail fence was intended to temporarily protect the riparian plantings from Cascade Fisheries and allow the riparian area to fully develop. We'd like to integrate our project with these trails for a seamless system that includes ADA opportunities and direct access to the water. Next slide, please. We've identified 2 areas that appear to be suitable and would provide comfortable and peaceful locations away from the crowds and portaging users to enjoy the water. The lime-colored green shows the proposed routes and the destinations. One of the sites overlooks Shaston Creek, and the other is just downstream of its confluence with the Wenatchee River. These trails would be concrete or asphalt and would terminate with a concrete pad and picnic table. Next slide, please. The site is naturally flat and mostly graveled. There's a paved driveway to the gravel parking area and lighted power poles that are operated by the PUD. The site is limited to day use recreation, and it would remain that way. A vehicle access or Discover Pass is required to use the site. And so we plan to right-size the parking area based on community input and expected use. Our project design would include a counterclockwise flow of traffic around the designated parking stalls. We'll include staging areas so people can unload in out-of-the-way locations. We'll use light-colored landscaping materials and staging areas to keep temperatures low where inflatables are at risk. We'll use signage to direct people away from congested areas. We plan to construct ADA trails and install ADA accessible CXTs. We plan to rehabilitate over 1 acre of the parking area to natural habitat. And lastly, we'll designate a no parking area available for enforcement use that would be located at the portage nearest to the Lowhead Dam. The improved signage and designation of portage routes should improve with the safety and assist in congestion. Next slide. The site couldn't be better suited for the development proposed. The parking area is already in existence, so no habitat impacts are expected. The site's open year-round for all uses. There's no threatened or endangered species. The site's been heavily impacted from past uses, and it's very flat. The improvements are outside of a 100-year floodplain, which we just experienced last fall, so we're very familiar with it. And because of the extensive trailer parking that would be afforded by this, there's excellent opportunities for local school districts to have events to observe the riparian restoration on accessible trails. Next, please. Public outreach for this site made it clear what the users were hoping to see from the project, and I'll address those in the next slide. But I did hear some desired improvements that were out of scope or would require more process and planning or were above and beyond what WDFW has the capacity to maintain, such as widening the ramp to allow more boats to launch at the same time, dam modification or removal, whitewater play park, changing rooms, showers, and the power source for raft inflation. We're not considering those in this project. Next slide, please. So what did fit was clearly marked portage sites and access routes, better informational signage, and a kiosk with safety information, permanent toilets, shade, and accessibility. Next slide, please. We'll also be able to convert much of the parking area into habitat restoration, which creates some maintenance efficiencies for us. We'll use the various planting methods to establish native vegetation within that 1 acre footprint. Next slide, please. We'll pave the parking area to allow for striping of parking stalls and delineation of directional flow, loading and unloading zones, and designated space for enforcement and emergency parking. Our project design addresses the highest priority user needs while including a mitigation component by restoring much of the parking area to natural habitat, similar to what Cascade Fisheries has already done. Next slide, please. The cost estimate for this project is about 1.8 million. 83% of that cost would result in built features on the site. 3% of the cost would address permitting needs. 13% of the cost would support admin, architecture, and engineering. These cost estimates were produced from a local, well-established consulting firm from Wenatchee and were cross-checked by WFW engineering staff. Next slide. Project engagement included 3 stakeholder meetings, an online survey with 164 responses, and a community workshop which had 26 participants. Next slide, please. As previously touched on, community engagement revealed some themes, including shade needs, designation of routes, addressing bottlenecks at launch and staging areas, safety concerns, sanitation, emergency access, and parking lot efficiencies. Next slide. American Whitewater has been just an incredible partner and driving force behind this project. They hosted the community survey and a project webpage. They interviewed Whitewater guides. They facilitated stakeholder meetings and site visits. They hired a consultant for the site design. They hosted a community design workshop. They explored expanding partnerships to help deliver about a $20,000 annually in O&M support for the project maintenance. Next slide. To improve the aesthetics of the site and provide shade and reduce stormwater runoff, again, 1.1 acres will be converted from the gravel parking lot to native habitat. This is going to significantly reduce the chemical applications that we need to do to keep the parking lot weed free. And that vegetation will provide much needed shade for the users and also wildlife habitat. Next slide, please. The Wenatchee River Valley is a prime recreational destination. Tourists from all over the world come to Leavenworth, and many of those people end up on the river at some point. WDFW's water access sites on the Wenatchee River are relatively simple and primitive sites work for us in some areas, but it's just out of place in this valley that has so much potential. And so this project would also encourage multimodal use by providing bike racks and allowing bus access within the trailer parking stalls. The trails and access to whitewater paddling would promote physical and social activity. Providing space for tribal fisheries provides opportunities for cultural connections as well. This project is designed to maintain or reduce long-term O&M needs, converting. Oh, you can go back. One more thing.
So we've run out of time on this one.
Okay.
So we're about 2.5 minutes over. So just very quickly, I wanted to hear what you have to say about diversity.
You got it. So yeah, WDFW lands belong to everyone. So this project supports multiple water-based recreational opportunities, tribal and recreational fishing, whitewater paddling, swimming, bird watching, and just cooling off in the water. Next slide. American Whitewater, I've already touched on this. They've also, so it totaled to $47,000 in match. And again, we're working on ways to come up with a $20,000 annual account to maintain it. And with that, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rich. So one thing definitely that you're going to have to speed up a little bit because you have a lot of great information there. I just think it's just pacing yourself so you can go just a little bit faster. Questions and comments from team members. We'll start with you, Carrie.
Thanks. I'm having technical difficulties. Sorry about that. I've been keeping my camera off. Rich, good job. There was one part of your presentation where you said, this was important to the users, but we're not addressing those in this project. I would just leave that off totally. I mean, I don't know. I mean, as I listened to it, it was hard to think that was a priority for the users, but you weren't addressing some of that.
And I think that part of the question was, you had a planning process and there's a number of things that people are asking for. So
Yeah.
is this the first phase of what you're going to be building out there? Are you trying to partner up with a city or county entity to provide some of those other things that they may be thinking about? Or as Carrie says, if that's not going to happen, then you can say you had a very robust process, but because of the way that you have the ability to develop, operate, and maintain, you're focused on getting the access and the parking and the basic structure. So I agree with you, Carrie, that you don't need to say we're not going to do something unless it's a part of another phase or there's some other legitimate reason. And how are you addressing, because the public is asking for something, and are you just saying, oh, sorry, or this isn't really feasible at this site or this time or whatever it is. So that would be helpful. Carrie, did you have anything else? I think she's done, so we'll move on to you, Gina.
Yeah, I'm done.
Thanks, Rich. This site looks like an amazing opportunity, especially with the work that's been done on the creek, the adjacent creek. I didn't get a sense, though it looks like it's highly used, but from I didn't hear any actual data about who's using it, how much are they using it, that kind of stuff. So I think some data would be really helpful. It appears that there's this portage process that's going on there, but I don't know if that's from rafts that are coming from, I'm imagining, from upriver to downriver. So how does it fit kind of in the system of the use on the Wenatchee? Because we heard the other project the other day about where there's a takeout, so maybe this is in the middle. I didn't quite get that, but it looks like it's a highly used site, and so a little more information about, kind of what, how much. And then you, just to tease you a little bit, I heard you use the term, it's naturally flat. And if it was a gravel pit, then it wasn't naturally flat.
Good point.
Thank you, Gina. Tanya, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, this looks like a good project, Rich. I guess to go more off of like what Gina was just saying, that some pictures of when it's being heavily used. It looked like a lot of the pictures were being taken, maybe during colder months or whatever. But if you could get a picture of kind of sort of the chaos that's going on there on some of those busy days. I've been to a busy boat launch area before, and it can be not fun when when that chaos is happening. So that would really help a lot.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And go ahead, Maddie.
Kind of building on that, I think it would be helpful, and sorry if I missed it, of like a visual of where people are going on the river. You mentioned about the portage and how this is a really important put in takeout site and that kind of stuff. So just seeing where they're going on the river and how the site gives them those options would be helpful. And then at the end, you mentioned, trying to raise the money so that you can maintain it. I think hopefully by the time in August, you kind of have that a little solidified more, or maybe be able to wordsmith that a little bit so that it's not raising flags that like, we don't have the money to maintain this. Just kind of being careful of how you word that, but great job. I think it looks like you've put a lot of thought into this. And so.
Thank you. That's great.
Thank you very much, Rich.
You.
Looking forward to seeing you back here in August, sitting in the hot seat.
Likewise. Hopefully I can advance slides better. I'll get something figured out.
We can practice, and it's totally fine to have us do it and just say next. So, all right. I am going to ask you to not move the mouse and give me just a minute to make sure I've gotten control. Okay. And our next project proposal, let me stop my little clock here, is from the city of Okanagan. And is it Chris or Greg? Which of you?
We're both here, Marguerite. This is Chris Johnson. I'm the planner for the city of Okanagan. I asked Greg Hamilton to join us as well. He's with the Okanagan-Omak Rotary, and they are a match provider for this project.
And are you seeing your presentation?
I am, and I really appreciate the ability to let you drive this thing because I would
Okay,
freely to being a Luddite and not being the best with computers.
no problem. So I am going to reset my clock here and my timer is reset. So you may begin.
Great. Thank you, Marguerite, and thank you to the committee for the opportunity. We have put together a carryable watercraft public access proposal for consideration by WWRP. We've also presented this morning to the ALIA group to match the request from WWRP. Again, the category is water access, and this is on the Okanagan River. Next slide, please. And I will apologize at this for I do not have these slides carefully labeled or correctly labeled with the evaluation criteria. That is one of the things that I will be improving prior to the August presentation. So bear with me today. For those who don't know where Okanagan, the city of Okanagan is, or where Okanagan County is, we've got a quick set of maps here that show that Okanagan County is the largest county by area in the state. We have about 43,000 residents, 47 square miles of water, but only 7 public boat launches. Next slide, please. Diving in a little bit closer from Okanagan County, you can see the city of Okanagan is the county seat. We have a little over 2,400 residents, 4 formal parks, one of which includes a river access, which is a powered craft access in the Elma Park, which because of currents and the configuration of the boat launch does not work well for carried crafts such as kayaks, canoes, or paddle boards. Next slide, please. So that Alma Park boat launch is shown with the yellow star near the bottom of the picture. That was constructed in 1972 through an early Washington State grant with federal funds as well. It has our swimming pool there as well as the boat access. Moving upstream a little less than 2 miles, you have Legion Park, which is our primary residential park in the north part of the city. It includes nearly 2,900 lineal feet of Okanagan River frontage, but has no physical access and very limited visual access. A very popular park that has the farmers market and the historical museum. And it has been a constant request from folks as we look at updating our parks to provide better access, both physical and visual, to the Okanagan River. Next slide, please. So currently the Legion Park area where the boat launch is proposed is a graveled access road right to the bank of the Okanagan River, cabled and bouldered to prevent cars from driving in, but it also prevents use of the shoreline potential access to the river, making it very difficult for all but the most intrepid to get to the Okanagan River from the parking area and from the park. Next slide, please. So just a shot on the water of some of the users on a typical summer day. The gravel bar island that they are on is directly adjacent to the Legion Park. It's a great meeting spot. People use it a lot, but there is no way to get to the public bathroom facilities or to the park facilities or parking facilities at Legion Park because of the steep bank and the nature of the vegetation. Next slide, please. The other issue that limits access to and from the river is that Okanagan has had considerable efforts to harden the banks to respond to the 100-year floods in 1948 and 1972. And as a result, much of the Okanagan River looks like this. You have heavy riprap, multiple placements along the banks, which both limits riparian success in providing habitat and recreational access to the river. We're looking at developing the site so that it can provide obviously better access for boating, but we could also do mitigation with some additional woody plantings and woody materials to offset any impacts to our ESA steelhead. Next slide, please. So one of the things to point out about the Okanagan River, which is very different than a lot of rivers in the state, is this is not a thrill seekers river. This is not a whitewater river. This is a slow float. This is a family float. Very easy for old and young, but it gets difficult when you're trying to find a place on public lands to come back out. Next slide, please. So having gone past the Oak Street Bridge, this is just down below the proposed river access point. You can see on the left, that is the industrial area within the boundaries of the Colville Tribal Reservation. On the right, we have more of the same limited vegetation, large riprap, and we start getting into the lower section before the Alma Park takeout, and we've lost the slow float and we get into more challenging currents to get out at the Alma Park location. Next slide, please. Public input and evaluation of an idea in a small town like Okanagan often takes a long time. The flash float river awareness article was actually back in 2016. And that's when folks started talking with the city about what can we do about this. There were workshops, presentations, some ideas that were put together to tie into Okanagan's riverboat history, where we had multiple boat access points and public connection to the river. And that was sort of the genesis of trying to figure out how best to come up with a design and a place. Next slide, please. I heard from the earlier presentation to Aaliyah that this should probably have been 3 slides so that you can get a better idea of the type of design. This was provided by CV2, who worked with the Rotary to provide this to the city as a match for the project. This is a conceptual design which shows I'm sorry, go back if you would, Marguerite. Thank you. That shows the opportunity for a narrow and long ramp from the existing park and museum parking lot area at Legion Park that would provide both visual and physical access to the river. As I said a second ago, it would also provide us with an opportunity to rearrange the riprap at the footing and provide some more suitable habitat for the ESA listed steelhead that are in the river. The plan does not require development of roads or parking lots. Those are already in place at the Legion Park and the museum area. We also have bathroom facilities and other meeting areas. So this is focused entirely on creating a visual and physical access to the river. Next slide, please. So it's a relatively modest proposal because it's a relatively modest project. We're looking at about $260,000 in development costs, about $41,000 in admin architectural engineering for an estimated project cost of $301,000. The budget at this point is split between a WWRP request, an ALEA request, and local match from the Rotary Grant. Based on discussions with ALEA folks this morning, we did not include costs for potential cultural needs or other permitting costs. The city permitting costs would be done through my work with the city, and so we will detail those out as additional match. And I'll be reaching out to the new cultural TIPO for the Colville tribes to re-engage on the project site. As many of you may know, the Colville tribes TIPO Guy Mora passed away about a month and a half ago. So prior conversations with Guy had made me feel comfortable in not having a large budget or a budget, identified But since we've lost that relationship, I think I'm going to re-engage, and that may make a slight difference in the total cost of the project, depending on how that meeting goes. And that is the presentation. I look forward to your help in making it a better presentation. Greg Hamilton here from Rotary. And Greg, would you like to take a moment and just explain Rotary's interest?
Sure, Chris, thank you. I live on the river and I live right by the Alma boat launch and how long it's lasted. But it is in a fast moving water section. And so it allows for people to get out of the river, although there's not a lot of parking, but it is tricky. And if we had the access up at Legion Park, it not only would make it much easier and safer for people to get out, but it's then in the slower part of the river. And that's what I see the advantage is, because I've been able to kayak up the river, even going through the rapids, but not many people would want to kayak up through the rapids. So having it up above, I think, will really increase the use of the river by having people be able to float down and kayak or paddleboard up.
Thank you, Greg.
We're going to start our questions or comments with Janet.
Hi, thank you very, very much. I'm new to Washington, so it's really great for me to learn all about these great places. I would like there to be some more comprehensible maps about what the elements are, where everything is. The conceptual design map meant nothing to me. I mean, I can sort of figure it out, but it's way too complex. It'd be good to have a series of maps showing what you're actually doing. And the other thing I'd just like you to address is who's using the current access point. Are they local? Do they come from elsewhere? What increase in use do you anticipate? Some sort of demographic information. I don't know whether 5 people, whether the pictures of like whatever it was, 10 kayaks is really crowded, or, what you anticipate, what's there, what you anticipate. But thank you.
Thank you for the input. Those are good questions that we will address in August.
And Garrett.
Chris, great presentations, a beautiful stretch of river. I'll look off of Janet. I am a civil engineer, so I can pick through these, but there are beautiful examples of this. I referenced it, I think, yesterday. There's a river access built in Boise that shows the wet bottom of the ramp with the guardrail. And if you had an image of that, I think it would drive home what kind of accessibility this actually is going to create, where you're actually going to be able to walk down the ramp into the water. You got the slope and distance here, and it's walking up and down the ramp with people, with their kids, with their boats, with their bikes, whatever they want to do. I think that would really drive the story home.
Great. I appreciate that.
And Kim.
Hi, thank you. I just want to note a couple things. I do eat some plants, but this is a little hard for me to kind of comprehend what's going to be built or improved in this location. And I hear a lot about boatings and access and getting boats in and out. Are there any plans for other use like swimming? Is it a good place for, kids and family to come by and I'm not familiar with this river, okay, or this area, is whether, is there options to do that after some of this work is being done? I see the pathway, so it's, walkway, but beyond that, is it just for boats, or is it for, to have a little beach swimming area to be added in?
Yeah.
And then you had noted in one of the earlier slides with the pictures of the kayak people meeting up, is that where you said the further south access point, or is it right? I think you mentioned it was right next to Legion Park.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
is that a publicly owned or is it an informal use? Is there clarification of, how people are using it now? Is it like a private land that people just use that nobody know about informally? Is it owned by the city, but it just not formally improved? I just wasn't sure,
No, it's a good thing that I can definitely do. It is in the center of the river. It is sole lands of Washington DNR. It's an informal use. The access is solely from upstream or downstream from users that are already fully in the river. Um, yeah, as a kid who swam in the Okanagan River, there are certainly places to get there, and the ramp would certainly provide much better access. And that was something that I can easily add into the next presentation is the multi-user aspect. We were focusing on making sure that people could actually see that there was a river there, the visual access as well as the physical access. So expanding on that is something that I will definitely focus on.
And Rich has a comment or two for you.
Thank you, Rich.
Yeah, thanks. I was curious about, so you've got the Alma Park boat launch, which is a motorized launch. Might be worth just touching on how motorized users are using that site and whether that creates any conflict. This is real close, it looks like. I'm not sure what the distance is, but how did that get used? Are there jet skis that run up the river, or is it fishing boats? And just maybe provide a little clarity there. I found the project pretty easy to follow, so appreciate it.
Thank you, Rich.
Chris, I did catch that I did catch that you said there was about 2 miles between these two sites. But
Yeah.
here's what I'm typically looking for when you're talking about kayaking, canoeing, and rafting or whatever, when small boat. I want to know where people are putting in, where they're taking out. And you made this so narrow, we don't get that vision or that picture. Like even from this slide, I don't know how far the distance is from Omak down to here.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's places up in this northern area where folks can get in. And you already know if they didn't tell you, you are going to blow these up really big, fill up your slide so we can actually see what's there. But it would be helpful for us to be able to see here's a put in site, here's a takeout site. And like when you have a site that's motorized, you kind of have to be careful because sometimes it can't accommodate both motorized and non-motorized. Sometimes it does, but you'll want to take a look at that. And I think that will help as well.
Those are great.
The other part is this project, I believe, is in Legion Park. However, we never really got to see Legion Park. So if you could grab maybe a Google Earth view or something so that we can get a little better sense of the park as a whole and where this is. When you were on slide 6, you were talking about, I think it was on this slide, and you were talking about people can get to the water, but it's very steep. Well, we were looking to see that because you can tell us things, but you could visually, just from here, maybe looking backwards. I kept trying to figure out, okay, so where do people park and where are the restrooms at this area and how do they come? And she's absolutely right. I didn't know if there's fishing that happens along this stretch of the river, if it's suitable for other kinds of activity. That would be good when you're addressing the question on diversity. But you have great photos of people in kayaks and canoes and love that those are wonderful, but we just couldn't tell what the property is like. And that'll help us a lot better as we're trying to score some of the criteria.
Very good. Thank you. I do have a great picture of someone trying to take a kayak down the bank. And I think
that would
help you. I think that would help you
be
understand
awesome.
why it's a bad idea.
Right, because one is you could put those two pictures side by side.
Yep.
We will hear your conversation. You don't have to have text on every slide, but yeah, that would be awesome for us to be able to see.
Well,
And
I did
then
warn you, I'm a Luddite when it comes to putting together presentations. So lots to
We'll talk to your grants manager, and your grants manager can hook you up with looking at some other slideshows, and then can kind of help you a little bit with what it is you might need. So
Very good. Thank you, Marguerite.
thank you so much. We appreciate you and Gregory showing up and presenting today. And we look forward to seeing you back here in August.
I look forward to having a new presentation with some corrections and some additions.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Team members, I think that's our last project for the day. So give me a second and then we'll be ready to go. For those of you who are out in Cyberland and viewing our presentations today, you have been watching some local and state agencies come in and present project proposals where they are asking for funding for the water access category of the Washington Wildlife and Recreation Program. We are giving them some feedback today, and they will be back in August for their final project presentations. To learn more about our grant programs that we have to offer, you can contact the Washington State Recreation and Conservation Office by visiting our website at rco.wa.gov. Please join us again in August, where we will have a chance to review and rank the projects in preparation for funding into early 2027. Thank you for joining us. We hope you have a good rest of the day.